All right, box to box, we are back. Episode 14. Man, time's flying, man. This season's we're already, what, a week and a half from the World Cup starting?
Yeah, dude.
If that. I don't know, man.
Crazy.
It's insane. And top it off, it's like the holidays are getting here. We're past Halloween now. Thanksgiving's right around the corner. So hoping that, I think probably for all of us, work slows down a little bit. For Alina, maybe school slows down or picks up.
Oh,
Who knows?
But finals are coming up, so
yeah. Well, hell, it's November, so
yeah,
midterms
first week
and
of
stuff.
December. First week of December is gonna get very hectic.
Oh, wow.
I do not miss college. I really don't. With that said, episode 14 back again. Before we jump right into all the content today, guys, what we have lined up for you, we're going to go into continuing our World Cup predictions. We've gone through groups A through D. We have E and F on the agenda for today. Before we get to that, though, we are going to. There's a lot that's happened over the last few days. MLS Cup final in the books. We'll talk about that. We had the Champions League and Europa League draws yesterday. Honestly, kind of nuts to see how it all panned out. But again, we'll talk about it. Before we jump in, guys, Box to Box brought to you by GOLZtv. GOLZtv is where you can find all of your free, unlimited soccer or footy content to consume. It's live today. It's been live for at least a few weeks now. If you haven't gone to check it out, what are you doing, right? It's a free site to consume footy content. Go check it out today. Again, that's GOLZtv. And as usual, I am joined by our mainstay hosts, Andre, a.k.a. Urban Dre, and then we got Alina, a.k.a. GGSK. Guys, let's jump right into MLS Cup here because it happened over the weekend. I don't want to waste any time. With MLS Cup, LAFC took it home in the most epic of fashions. Andre, probably the best MLS Cup final, no? Ever?
Not probably. Definitely the best MLS Cup final ever.
It was nuts, bro.
Honestly, I would even argue it was the best MLS game ever.
Damn.
Their El Tráfico. Remember the first El Tráfico when Zlatan hit that like 40-yard volley?
Banger, yeah.
And then
I was
he scored
watching that live.
Yeah, and he scored that like 93rd minute header. Like I thought that was the best game ever, but after seeing this game, I'm like, ooh, it's very tough to make an argument for the Tráfico. But it was a fucking great game.
Dude, crazy. And look, first off, it was in LA at the Bank of California Stadium. It was a packed house. I mean, you couldn't spot a single empty seat in that stadium. And
totally.
I'll be honest, bro, even Philly's, fans, they came to play. I know the Union sent they flew their entire front office.
Yeah, that was
to the game, sweet. Which is awesome, bro. That would have been honestly, I was kind of jealous. I was like, damn, if work could fly me out to a game like that, that'd be
especially
awesome.
in LA, dude. Like that's so sick.
Yeah, so I'm sure they were enjoying some better weather than what they may or may not be seeing in Philly this time of the year. But
one thing that I'll say though is tough being from Philly that day. You lose the World Series and you lose the MLS. I think it's the first city ever to lose two national championships in one day.
Yeah, bro. And people were talking about that, like how great is it going to be for Philly fans if they, if they walk away with both on the same day. No one talked about what would happen if they didn't.
If they lose,
yeah. So with that said, though, bro, 3-3. It went to penalty kicks.
Everything happened in that game,
dude. Everything. Bale posterized and a center back to kind of tie it up.
6'6", by the way. The center back is like fucking has 4 inches on him.
Yeah, bro. It was crazy. There was so much to get to. So, Andre, walk us through it, bro. Your take on the game. Yeah. Anything crazy that you might have seen, and do you think that the best team won it?
I think so. I mean, there's a reason why the game was played in LA, right? They both had the same amount of points during the regular season. First time ever that both number one seeds from the West and the East meet in the final, which you can't ask for anything better. We've talked about Philadelphia. They only lost like 4 or 5 games throughout the season, one to your beloved FC Dallas. But dude, like I said, everything happened in the game. The first 20 minutes, I expected it to be very chippy. Yeah. And that's what it was. Everybody was, playing reserve, not taking risks. I mean, it's a final, right? You don't want to be the one who fucks up and your team loses 1-0.
Seriously.
But once the goals started coming, oh my god, dude! Roller coaster of emotions,
bro, and it got physical too.
And it got chippy. That was going to be my next point. It got chippy. There were a few yellow cards flying around. Pushes, shoves, everything. I started to get. I mean, obviously, I'm an LAFC fan, but I started to lose hope when Vela got subbed out by Bale. But I'm like, it's fucking Bale. Like it's not like he's getting subbed out by some like nobody or like an 18-year-old from the academy. Plus,
with that said, Bale saved Cerundolo because we were texting about that. We were texting about that before because why didn't we see Vela stay on, right? For the purpose of maintaining possession or whatever it may be. I don't know. It felt weird.
Yeah. And dude, when the LAFC keeper broke his leg on that breakaway,
dude, they didn't show the replay, but granted, they don't need to. That's totally okay. I didn't think he was that bad. I thought it was just a massive collision, and the dude was just maybe holding something or his hip or something. It was actually his broken leg. But how fateful is it that the backup keeper comes in, turns out to be a penalty kick specialist, and then he goes big as hell in the actual PK shootout.
I know. I mean, imagine being that guy, right? Like you're probably not expecting to play. The other thing too is the I think Crepeau is his name, the guy who got injured, but he's going to miss the World Cup for Canada, which is he's not going to start, but it's a big blow. This guy comes in. He used to play for Philly, so he played against his boys, and he stopped 2 PKs to win the cup, dude. Well, you can't ask for anything more.
Fairy tale ending, man. It was insane. Fairy tale ending.
2 goals after the 120th minute. 1 for Philly. Everybody thought that they were going to win it, and then Bale, of course. Bale in finals, man. I mean, think about it. For Real Madrid, how many times has he scored in a final?
He almost doesn't even need to play. Like I feel like he's a big game player. The lights are never too bright, which I think, if we're looking at how this, segues into World Cup stuff and what he's going to, what can we expect from Wales and being led by Bale, I think we can expect something in the World Cup. I think 100%. American fans need to be kind of worried. Like I do think that first US Wales game, I don't know. I'm fully expecting Bale to be locked in for this and more of those spotlight, those clutch moments, right? That we've seen for LAFC, that we've seen for Real Madrid in the past. I expect that to be on full display in Qatar, which should worry everybody in Group B.
But I mean, he turns into a different guy when he plays for Wales. He's wearing the captain's armband. He's got supporting cast around him. I mean, Harry Wilson, amazing talent. Dan James, amazing talent. It's not like Wales is a walk in the park, and so. I agree with you. I think USA fans have to be realistic about the threat of Wales being an actual contender to win the group.
Yeah, seriously. Well, with that said, MLS Cup, it's in the books. MLS season is wrapped. I think if there was ever a game that was going to springboard this country and its fans into what should be an extremely promising season, it's going to be this final, right? Yep. Again, many touting it as the best MLS Cup final of all time. Andre touting it as the best MLS game of all time.
Yep.
Either way, 3-3 that ends in penalties. I'll never complain about that. Moving on into our next topic of the day, knee-jerk reactions to the Champions League and Europa League draws. Both of which were so interesting. I got up a little bit late because they came on about 5 a.m. my time, but I got up a little bit late to tune in. Mm-hmm. But either way, I was glad that I did. It was a crazy draw. So many interesting reactions all over the internet. And by the way, before I jump right into some of these Champions League things here, we talked about this yesterday too, Andre. I think you and I did, but we should mention one more time before we move off of the LAFC winning the MLS Cup topic. Mm-hmm. Bale does now have more trophies with LAFC than with Spurs.
Oh, that's tough, dude.
Yeah.
Man, tough. Spurs fans love that.
Dude, I saw a tweet. I sent it to you. I saw a tweet that said the only season that Bale hasn't won a trophy since he went to Real Madrid is when he was loaned out to Tottenham.
Tough, man.
Think about that.
Tough to see.
Spurs fans taking L's. NBD.
In the mud. With that said, though, Spurs fans have a little bit of respite, right? They did on the final match day of the Champions League group stage. In a crazy day. I mean, like the emotions were basically a roller coaster for that entire group, and how it panned out between Frankfurt, Marseille, Sporting, and Tottenham. But with that said, we now do have the draws and the ties ready for the round of 16 in the Champions League, for the round of 32 in the Europa League, and there was more than enough to be had here. So, Alina, let's start with you. We have the matches kind of pulled here in front of us. I'll really quick read them through, and I would love your reaction in terms of which ones you're automatically paying attention to first. So, guys, if you didn't see the draw, it's Manchester City, Leipzig. Interesting. Bruges, Benfica, which is, I think, a low-key matchup. People aren't going to be eyeing.
People are going to be shocked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Real Madrid, Liverpool. Andre will talk about that. Tottenham, Milan. Napoli, Frankfurt. Chelsea, Dortmund. Porto, Inter. And PSG Bayern. Man, that's going to be a spicy one. But we'll get to it. So, Alina, let's go two sides of the coin here. The matchup that you think is probably just the most eye-catching right off the bat, and then the one that you think is maybe kind of low-key that fans maybe not be anticipating immediately, but should be eyeing as we get closer to February.
Man, there's some spicy ones. Like some of them should be the semis or the final matchup, really.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
That's what PSG get, right, for finishing second. So that's kind of funny. It's karma.
That's what's crazy, right? And people, they say karma. They should have taken that final game. I don't know, against Juve, maybe just really.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just to treat it a whole lot more seriously. Maybe I have no idea. But now, what the draw is. So how are you feeling about it?
For me, I think just a game that I am 1,000% going to watch. PSG Bayern is going to be an insane game.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet about it a couple days ago about how Messi's last game against Bayern ended up with like Barcelona losing, like, was it like 8-2 or 6-2? 8-2.
8-2. So that was a rough day.
It's going to be interesting to like see him psychologically from that aspect against that team. And then I think one game that I'm really interested in seeing, it's two, but I think I'm going to narrow it to one. But the Inter Porto, because Portuguese teams are insane.
They really are.
We saw what Benfica did. Porto are just as good. So it's going to be a really, really fun game to watch against Inter. And then the other one is Dortmund versus Chelsea that I'm really looking forward to as well.
It's a good one.
And they're quoting that one, by the way, the Dortmund-Chelsea one, as the the American derby. Gio Reyna versus Christian Pulisic. Although I will say, I don't know if by then we're going to see, I don't even know if we'll see Pulisic playing, right? That's what's crazy. And I don't know. There are a lot of American fans that are hoping he gets moved in January, so this may not even be an American derby of any kind. But either way, right? Like they're hoping that Pulisic starts to become more prominent under Potter, which should lead to a prominent showdown between Reyna and Pulisic. I don't know. We'll see. Andre, how are you feeling about Madrid, Liverpool over two legs, which we haven't seen quite some time?
I mean,
the Jamie Carragher days, probably.
Out of all of the matchups that we could have gotten, I could have been worse. We could have gotten PSG. But I don't know. I don't want to say I'm scared. But given our recent form, if the game was being played tomorrow, I don't want to hear people saying, well, Liverpool's in the worst, form of Klopp's career at Liverpool, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be an easy walk in the park. Like, get out of here. It's Europe, dude. Anything can happen, especially across two legs. So if the game was being played tomorrow, at least this first leg at Anfield, I would be scared. Now, something to keep in mind is these games are not happening for another 3 months. Like, it's going to be in February. Teams are going to be very different. The World Cup may or may not have, some injuries.
The World Cup will disrupt every team regardless. Whether it's good 100%. Or bad, it will disrupt everybody's form.
Yeah, it's going to change. It's going to be a tale of two seasons for every team, right? It's going to be very rare that a team is going to continue the same form that they had before the World Cup till after, especially in Champions League or in Europa League, which we'll get to here in a minute. So long story short, I mean, it's a tough matchup, dude. Like, Liverpool also has to come into this approaching it with the fact that we've beaten them the last 3 times in Europe. And so 2 finals and then 1, I believe, quarterfinal or semi. So for them, they're also going to be hungry. They're going to be, looking for blood. And again, it's going to depend on the form that we have going into this matchup. So I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And look, I totally hear what you're saying. And, you and I were talking about this a little bit yesterday. I feel like, because, we have so many friends between us, right, who are either Barcelona fans or Real Madrid fans or whoever. And sometimes it's really easy just to quickly – and I gripe about this with my own fan base, the Barcelona fan base. When times are good, everybody is on the same train. We're all talking and kind of feeling the same way about everything. When times are bad, you really try to or we're in rebuilding mode, whatever it may be. You really you start to understand how this fan base works.
Yep.
And one thing I've never agreed with are people who deal in absolutes, right? They say, oh, that team is just easy for you guys through and through. That's it. It's all it should be. No, it's just, it doesn't work that way.
That's not how it works.
For all the reasons that you mentioned, but more importantly, they wouldn't be in the knockout rounds if they were an easy team.
Correct.
Right.
They wouldn't have gotten out of the group. They played 5 matches in Europe and they got out of the group. Clearly not an easy team.
And did they lose big to Napoli and maybe a couple others along the way? Sure. Yes, it happens. But
move on. You get out of the way.
With that said, there's going to be a lot that happens between now and then. But more importantly, the pedigree that this club has in Europe, in their own domestic league.
Agreed.
And the pedigree that Anfield has as just this fortress that you have to come into and play against. It's massive. I would be scared as shit of Liverpool regardless of what their form is. So I think at the end of the day, that's going to be, for me, it's one of the juiciest matchups. I'm hoping now the one wrench that gets thrown in, I'm hoping the Liverpool can reinforce in January. What would throw that off is the sale of the club or the pending sale of the club. I don't know if anybody saw it, right? We all saw it yesterday. Fenway Sports Group announcing that they are open to selling either a minority or a majority stake in Liverpool. And so if that does happen, or if it's pending in January, what would suck for Klopp and for Liverpool fans everywhere is then not have a chance to reinforce their squad due to that pending sale. And so, dude, if that happens, as difficult as it could be for Madrid, I don't see a way in which Liverpool wins. It's mainly because of how much chemistry Madrid has and how much experience they have in this competition. I think it's just so daunting. But I don't know. We'll see. And then from my perspective, I mean, PSG Bayern is juicy as hell. But I will say that what I'm interested to see specifically on a storyline with PSG Bayern, I don't know how you guys feel about this. If you remember that year in COVID when Bayern won it and they beat PSG in that final, Neymar was kind of the star of the show. And Mbappe was kind of playing his part. I think that has to obviously go work in reverse now. And Mbappe is the star of the show. I would love to see him finally back everything up, all of the hype, everything in the Champions League, and beat a team that many people consider to be a favorite for this year's title. And in a big way, man. Like if he can storm in there over 2 legs and convincingly beat that Bayern Munich team, damn. I don't know how to feel about PSG going into the rest of the knockouts because
it depends on their draw or whatever.
But also this team could maybe finally win it. I don't know. I'm always so hard pressed to say that either Manchester City or PSG will win it because they've botched it so many times now. But I don't know. That's something I'm really looking forward to. Is can Mbappe be that that guy he says he is, the money says he is, and the power that he has at the club? Can he finally take this team over the line and beat someone that is really poised in a big way to win it this year?
So, do you guys think that either City or PSG could win it this year, like realistically?
I don't know. I feel like we've heard that question for the last 5 years, and they always botch us. So it's kind of interesting because I feel like for the last few seasons, most of the media, at least, even I think in the fans as well, they always think, okay, it's going to be City or PSG because they're the most stacked team. And I think it's just interesting because in the Champions League, it's like a tournament, it's a knockout, right? So everything can happen. If you're on your night, you will play and you will win. And also because it's a long competition too, it's not the Euros or the World Cup or the Copa America or whatever, where it's across a month and a half or so. This is across the whole season. So I feel like there's more potential for really big and favorite teams to be caught off guard in a bad moment or with a lot of injuries or bad mentality, whatever it is, and then that will affect them. And I think that's why the most consistent teams do the best.
I have a theory on that question. I think it's City's to lose, in my opinion. I think PSG is obviously the next team that's poised because of who they have, but I think it's City's to lose, obviously because of Haaland, but also because they've won the Premier League 4 out of the last 5 years, something like that. By my definition, and this could be, I don't know, the thumbnail maybe for this video, who knows? But by my definition, that's a farmers league. By my definition, one team that is almost just the mainstay winner every single year. So, but with that said, every one of those years they've been competing to try and do something in the Champions League while juggling every domestic competition that they have. This year's different. Arsenal I don't think any team outside of Liverpool has kept up with City at the top for this long in the first half of the season. Arsenal has stayed at the top for this long. I think if Arsenal can reinforce in January, keep this going, and challenge City all the way through to the end, I think slowly over time, Pep begins to prioritize the Champions League and really, really dedicate every resource to winning it. Not that because he's not prioritizing Premier League anymore, but because he realizes that, okay, would it be the worst thing in the world if we got second in the Prem and won the Champions League? No. That's what I think. I think if Arsenal continue to put the pressure on them domestically, they will, whether they admit it or not, they will start to prioritize Champions League, which hopefully gets them over the line. I say hopefully because I'm sort of tired of the narrative that Pep needs Messi to win a Champions League title. I don't think that's true.
That's fair.
I think he's made every team he's coached better, and it's just a matter of finally getting that that monkey off his back, so to speak. But that's really it. So we'll see. Before we move on to World Cup predictions, let's kind of go round table here. Is there a big team? And when I say big team, I mean their top 3, top 4 in their domestic league, and that you see losing in this early round of 16? Is there somebody that you can see here? Let's start with Alina, then we'll go to Andre and me.
I think that, I mean, obviously Liverpool, depending on where they're going to be, I do think Madrid, with their experience and their Champions League DNA, I don't think there's anything stopping them really. And I would say even if it was a fair matchup, like let's say both teams are relatively in form come February, I still think that Madrid would be able to win that. And so I think Liverpool is the first like top 4-ish team that's gonna get knocked out. I'm a little nervous for Inter, not gonna lie, just because like I said, the Portuguese teams are insane. So I honestly would not be surprised to see um, Inter get knocked out as well. They had a really, really, really good October and beginning of November, and that kind of helped them push through their Champions League group. But I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep that. I don't know what they're going to look like in February because, you know, as someone who's like watched, you know, the Serie A for so many years now, Inter is like a team that cannot really stay consistent throughout. They always like end up dropping points, and I don't know. I think Liverpool and Inter, these are like the two teams I think that will crash out early.
Love it, Andre.
I'm gonna go with both Milan teams. So I think Milan against Tottenham across 2 legs could be tough for them, and then Inter as well. The one that also I could see exiting in this round is Chelsea. I think Dortmund are better than what people think, especially across 2 legs. Like I keep saying that over and over again, and I know I sound like a broken record, but if it was one game and the game was at Stamford Bridge, yeah, sure, I'll give them the credit. But across 2 legs, going to Signal Iduna, it's tough playing there, man. So I think Dortmund is going to shock a lot of people, and Chelsea, I don't think they're ready for that challenge yet.
I mean, we saw Chelsea this past weekend against Arsenal, right? And while the score was 1-0, I mean, Chelsea wasn't even close. Like they had no possession, no real chances. It was almost eye opening for a lot of teams. I agree with you guys. If I'm going to pick someone different, though, I don't want to say I disagree with Andre a little bit. I just think we'll see what this team looks like in February. We'll see if the World Cup is good for them, maybe for some of the players that are going. But I can see Spurs dropping that over 2 legs. I think Milan is a low-key sleeper. I think they have some real goal-scoring threats that will challenge that back 4. And, I mean, we saw Tottenham against another good team at Liverpool this past weekend. And I don't know. They desperately need the World Cup to get here because they just look way too inconsistent at the moment.
It's funny because I think that is a team that needs the World Cup, right? Like there's teams that are like, oh, fuck, we have a break. And then Tottenham definitely needs the break.
So like Arsenal, for example, right? Like we're just we're hoping that it doesn't disrupt form, but then like Tottenham really needs it. They just I think Conte needs a reset, but I don't know. I think Milan's tricky for them. And then equally, I mean, we talked about it before. If I had to make a prediction for PSG Bayern, I think Bayern goes through. I think the experience they have, and I think it's what causes PSG to blow up. I think Messi just decides, okay, well, this is my last year at PSG. I'll go to Inter Miami and MLS, or maybe come home to Barca for the farewell that he needed or whatever. But I think that he calls it. They find a way to get Neymar out, and then they truly build this team around Mbappe the way he envisioned. But I just don't think – I think this team will switch off when it comes time, especially at the Allianz. I think Bayern's way too experienced to lose that. So I don't know. We'll see. But either way, a ton of matchups coming. And then a few minutes on the Europa League draw, because while there's a lot of teams here that I don't think many conversations are being had around, there's a giant matchup here, couple matchups here, I will say, that everyone is obviously locked in on. Before we go to the matchup probably of the entire round in Barca versus Manchester United, Juve versus Nantes. I think it's really interesting, right? Mainly because if you watch Ligue 1, Nantes is a really interesting team. Pretty scrappy. They have a lot of, I don't want to say ugly wins, but they don't play the most beautiful football out there. And Juve now seems to be flocking to young talent and playing beautifully, I might add. This past weekend was a huge dub. Alina, any predictions, or do you think this is going to be straightforward in terms of the round of 32 tie with Nantes?
Oh, I think this is going to be a slaughter for Nantes, actually, because we're going to have all of our guns back. Kies is coming back in. Pogba is definitely going to be ready after the World Cup. Di Maria, who knows? Like, he might literally give it all for Argentina in the World Cup and end up end up injured or whatever it is, or loses motivation, because that was like one of the bigger reasons he came to Juve, is to find that playing time and make sure that he's ready for the World Cup. So I
Hmm.
don't know if he's going to be like motivated to play the last 5 or 6 months of his contract after the World Cup. But
Yeah.
I do. My prediction is across both games. I do predict a 4-0 for Juve. So two,
We
maybe 3-1, 3-0, and then 1-0 maybe away.
That's what I
nice.
was thinking too. In all honesty, I think that that's probably pretty accurate. I think that the teams that most people hope go through, just for the sake of Europa League, continue to be as competitive as it can be, would be, I think with the ties that we have, I think people seeing Ajax go through, Leverkusen, Sevilla, PSV is going to be
That's a
interesting.
tough one. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
do think PSV, in my opinion, goes through just because Sevilla,
they've been
since they
shaky.
found Lopetegui,
Like,
it's I don't know, it's tough, right? They just had a crazy, I don't know if anybody saw it, a crazy game against Real Betis this past weekend. They're like three red cards or four red cards in the game. It was insane. But yeah, I don't know how to feel about that one. That one could go either way. I think Roma would be great to see go through. Rennes, Sporting, Juve, and then at the top of it all, the winner of Manchester United versus Barcelona.
how do you feel about it?
You know what, man? In previous years, it's hard not to be scared of a team like Manchester United. And I'm not going to shit on United here. I do think that they look better under Ten Hag. I think the worst thing about all this for them is timing. This is still a team that's growing under Ten Hag.
Yep.
They looked somewhat lost against the press versus Villa. They play Villa again midweek for the Carabao Cup.
Yep.
We're learning more about United every week, right? And what I think is that the World Cup is going to disrupt the progress they're making under Ten Hag. And I think that he may have to start from scratch in a few different ways with the players that he has coming back from the World Cup. I guess maybe the good news for United is that they don't have quite as many players going to the World Cup as they've had maybe in previous years.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to retain a lot of their team, work on team building, build that chemistry up, and hopefully be able to walk into the Camp Nou and be competitive. I will say their best defender is missing for one of the legs, Lautaro Martinez.
Yep.
Or not Lautaro, Lisandro Martinez.
Lisa.
And so Lisa's the one guy I would say has any sort of chance of being physical enough with Leva to try and disrupt him.
Yep.
I don't see Maguire doing that. Varane maybe, but he's so injury prone now that I don't even know if he'll be available by that time. And I don't see any other center back keeping up with Lewandowski. So
yeah.
I think Barca will have too much firepower for them over two legs, but the game at Old Trafford will be interesting. I mean, we could walk out of there with a draw or maybe even a loss. I mean, even in the year that Barca won Champions League back in 2011, a lot of people don't remember, Barca lost to Arsenal 2-1 at the Emirates. It happened in the last minute with a crazy ball by Jack Wilshere. So I think that could happen again, but over two legs, we should find a way to squeeze this out, considering who we have and considering the form that United are in. But time will tell.
I also think the first match is at Camp Nou, so you guys have to get a result there. Because to your point, going to Old Trafford, if you're up 1-0 or maybe if you tie for whatever reason, it's going to be tough because United always find a way, especially against bigger clubs, especially in Europe, right? So. Yeah,
if we have our full defense back, if our defense is not in shambles the way it's been for the whole first half of the season, like if we have Araujo, Koundé, Christensen, everybody, I don't even know who they realistically try to throw at us. Maybe Martial, because I think Ronaldo will be too static. I think he'll be, if he gets like the random one-off header or something, maybe. But or a set piece, I just think he'll be too He'll be too easy to cover because he doesn't press, he doesn't run a ton on the field. He's just there. So. The guys who have a lot of movement always create difficulties for Barca. I think because they have static strikers, it's actually a benefit to us. So
I agree. I think it's going to come down to the way that Real Madrid has beat you in the last however many seasons. It's the wings. They need Rashford, they need Sancho to be like, at the top of their game to even potentially contend in this.
Yeah, but wing service starts from your midfield, and I think that their midfields, they're still trying to figure that out. Is it Bruno? Is it Eriksen? I mean, where does Casemiro could give them a lot of intel, right? But where does Casemiro and Fred, play into this? McTominay, does he even deserve to feature in a game that big? It's just there's so many question marks around who's going to be the difference maker for United that I'm not saying I'm not scared. I'm trust me, when it comes time for the week of the tie, I'm going to be locked in for it. But I think right now, Is it the worst possible opponent we could have gotten? Yes, but I wasn't dramatically worried about anyone that we could have gotten in this round of 32. In all honesty, last season, I was more worried going into the Napoli matchup when we had that round of 32 tie that we ultimately won. Napoli, to me, was a bigger threat last season than United is this season. So I don't know. We'll see. We do have more firepower. We should win that game. So, but moving on, guys, World Cup predictions, groups E and F. I'm so excited for the World Cup. We're right around the corner, so we are continuing again our prediction series, groups E and F, and let's start with what I think many people have. Well, not even many people. I've seen some people coin as the group of death. I'm very much considering it that. We do have Spain, Costa Rica, not just because Spain and Germany, but Spain, Costa Rica, Germany, and Japan all being ranked in the top 30, 31 in the world. And more importantly, put FIFA rankings aside for a second. Costa Rica, who is the lowest ranked team at 31 in this group, still has a massive pedigree in World Cups, in big international tournaments. And so there's a lot to kind of unpack here. But let me read off the FIFA rankings one by one, and then we'll dive in. Spain coming in ranked 7th, Costa Rica at 31, Germany at 11, Japan at 24. Andre, with this group of death, bro, I think it's easy maybe to point out Spain and Germany, but is there a big reason why someone like Costa Rica might be the disruptor? And if they are the disruptor, which one of those two powerhouses goes?
Here's the thing. I don't even think it's going to be in Costa Rica. I think Costa Rica had their like golden moment 8 years ago in Brazil, right? When they made it all the way to, I believe, the quarterfinals and they lost to PKs against Holland.
In 2014,
Yep. So
I'm thinking a lot of that same team, by the way, but like they're
it's 8 years later. Yeah, so that's the thing.
The
thing about them, this is going to be their last World Cup, and I'm looking at the list of players that we have here. But Keylor Navas, he's like 32 maybe. But then you've got Brian Ruiz, Celso Borges, and then Joel Campbell, who are definitely well above 34, 35. So obviously this is their last World Cup. I don't know how much they're gonna how much their legs are gonna hold up across a 7-match tournament, right? Like that's a lot to play every third or fourth day. I think Japan, this is their year to disrupt everything. And to answer your question, I think the people that go through, or the teams that go through in this group, are Spain and Japan. I think Germany.
Damn, again?
Yeah, dude. I just don't see it. They've been so inconsistent, bro. And across 3 matches where they're going to be tested by a very sneakily good Japan team, I think Spain beats them. That's it. If Japan wins against Germany, that's pretty much it.
That's fair.
So I do think
something to note, by the way, really quick with Germany, and this is to reinforce your argument. They have not performed their best in the last 2 tournaments. I mentioned 2018 when they got knocked out in the group stages, but even in the 2020 Euros, right, or 2021 Euros, whatever it was, they have not looked like Germany of old, right?
No.
Or even if they didn't have necessarily the biggest name talents, which they usually do have some of those players. Germany's always felt like they've had this chemistry that's been mimicked by whoever's leading them at the manager level, and it trickles down to every player that's on that roster. Now, it doesn't really feel like that. It almost feels like a disjointed version of Bayern, Dortmund, and the rest of the Bundesliga.
Well,
so,
I mean, the other thing too is if you think of Germany in the World Cups, they're usually a top seed club, right, or a national team. If they go to the World Cup, chances are they're going to be head of the group. And in this case, they weren't. They failed to do so. So I look at this with a grain of salt, but at the same time, I look at it historically. And as of the last 2 years, even 4 years, Germany have looked not great.
Average,
so average at best. I do think Japan, this is their year. I mean, they played against the U.S., and granted it's the U.S., but they're fast, they're sneaky. We've talked about Japan, in past episodes, and I do think that they have enough firepower to at least contend to go through.
Yeah, Alina. So he Andre mentions Germany not looking as sharp as they can, which may lead to them getting beaten by someone like Japan going into the group. So that if Andre does have someone like Spain, which I do too, but the biggest question mark with someone like Spain leading this group is who's going to be scoring these goals. Everyone knows that Spain has great defensive backs, great center backs, great midfielders to kind of complement everyone. But when it comes to who leads the strike force up top at the Euros, it was the likes of Ferran Torres, and you saw a little bit of guys like Gerard Moreno. You saw a good amount of Alvaro Morata. You know a lot about Morata. I mean, do we think that these guys, considering the form they've been at the club level over the last, like, let's say 6 months, should we feel as confident about this strike force for Spain as we did in the Euros?
Well, it depends. How has Morata been doing at Atletico? Because I haven't been following him at all.
Atletico has had
Struggles.
struggles scoring. Like they've lost to teams they should not be losing to. They finished fourth place in the Champions League, so they're not even in Europe anymore. Finding goals, and that's the with the fact that they haven't even been playing guys like Joao Felix, which throws my I have no idea why it's not happening. But nonetheless, right, Morata is not the sole blame here, but finding goals for Atletico has been a struggle. Now, with that said, you know as well as I do, sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes your national team is your national team, and you can still find the back of the net.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because for me, Spain in the Euros was the second best team because they hold possession. So it's not like they're always relying on like a counterattack and for their like true number 9 goal scoring striker to always be clinical and make sure that he's accurate. So I think it's interesting because the way the team is positioned, they're positioned around creativity and possession.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it might be a reason why it's like that because they're lacking that Torres, that Villa, that Raul, you know? So it's this kind of, I think it's interesting to see, but I don't know, going back into the Euros and how they did there, and then also going into their World Cup, they are one of my favorites to win. I just looking at it, I think the only teams that can stop them would be like Argentina, Brazil, or France, really. So
Gotcha.
I think for me, that originally, whenever I get asked, is like, who do I think is going to win the World Cup? I always say Spain.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to. I mean, they have a great young squad. I think the question marks around the front on who's going to be that guy. If I had to predict who it would be, based on Luis Enrique and how he thinks, I think it's going to be Ferran. It's just, again, he doesn't play often enough for Barcelona, or he does, but he comes in for like certain matches that just don't carry enough weight, or he's used it as a change of pace more than anything else to guys like Lewandowski. Which means that the rhythm, the touches, I don't know if they're necessarily always there. But I will say, in comparison to him being back at City when he was at when he was with Spain at the Euros versus him being with Barca now, heading into the World Cup, he has a lot more chemistry and experience with Spanish talent. A lot of Spanish talent who will be at the World Cup, right? So, and then Ansu Fati, it's another guy that we don't even know if he's going to make the final list because he hasn't played consistently enough for Barca in his first half of the season. If he goes, if both those guys go, I don't know. I kind of agree with you, Alina. I think Spain will, and they start getting into form and maybe, playing off one another and scoring goals. I think they have a real opportunity to walk away top of the group.
Yeah.
But again, if the goals don't come, if they have all that possession only for it to feel like a Barcelona Champions League game against Inter or something where we just can't find the back of the net, then
kind of wasted.
Yeah, it's and I don't know what happens with Spain. I don't know if they're going to struggle against teams like Japan, who tend to have a lot of chemistry, a lot of possession. We'll see. But if there was a prediction that we could make here, let's start with Andre. For someone like Japan, you mentioned them coming in second.
Yep.
So are they beating Spain then? You really see a team like that coming in and upsetting a country as big as Spain? Or are they solely going to be focused on Germany and Costa Rica?
Yeah, I think you go into it obviously hoping to win every match, but I do think that Spain have enough firepower to win the group. So Japan shouldn't expect to, walk all over Spain. I do think that you approach the Germany game, which I believe is their first game of the group, as kind of a end all be all. We have to get 3 points. And look, 4 years ago, South Korea beat Germany pretty handedly with Son at the top. So it's not like Germany has the best record against Asian teams. Like, they just make it happen. So I do think that, even if they get a draw against Germany, you go into Costa Rica, you win that game, you get 4 points, and then anything can happen with Spain.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying that Japan's going to beat Spain, but I do think that they have enough to at least get 6 points and get out of the group.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Alina, do you think it's going to go that way? Spain, Japan, Germany, Costa Rica, or do you see it working out differently?
Well, I would love to see Japan and Costa Rica getting out of that group, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Imagine a world where Spain and Germany don't qualify.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be like when Uruguay and Costa Rica got out of the group, and Italy and England didn't.
It can happen.
Anything can happen.
I think realistically, I don't know. I'm kind of having like conflicted feelings about Germany because I don't think obviously they haven't done well in the last two tournaments. In the Euros they did enough to get out of their group stage. That's the only factor that's kind of making me say, okay, they can somehow grind the results and grind the points and make sure they get to the round of 16. So that's why I do think that they're going to come in second.
Yep.
Because it's not always about who's in form and all that. It's about the history. It's about what this means to you. It's about the experience. And when I look at Germany versus Japan or versus Costa Rica, I do think that they have that edge. They have four World Cups. I think they're tied with Italy for second most successful, and then the obviously Brazil have 5 World Cups. So I think that alone is just going to give them that factor and that motivation that getting knocked out for the second World Cup in a row, in the group stages, that's just not acceptable.
Yeah, I agree. I think and look, I think we have to mention too, you're right, Germany will be without Timo Werner. I don't know if that really, like in a big way, impacts their goal scoring ability. They still have the likes of like Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry, and a host of others playing for that squad. So, that may just be depth more than anything else, but nonetheless, still a pretty big loss considering that he was able to transition from Chelsea into Leipzig pretty seamlessly, get back on the score sheet pretty soon after. So we'll see with Germany. And then I think if I'm making a prediction on this, I think if Spain can find the goals, if Spain can truly find the goals, they're going to be so tough to beat. So tough to beat. Like teams just won't have enough opportunities. It becomes the age-old argument of just volume, right? Do you even have enough possession to create enough opportunities to win the game?
Yep.
I'm inclined to somewhat agree with Andre here. I think it will end up being Spain. Damn. I think it will be Spain and Germany. I just think that Japan could really make it interesting. I don't know. So when do Japan and Germany play? What is it, the final game? No, it's the first game. It's the first game.
Yeah, I think it's the first one.
So that will dictate how it goes. I think if
that's what I was saying earlier.
Germany don't get max points, then second place is completely up for grabs. We don't even know what's going to happen. But if Germany, walks away with a clear-cut victory, Spain does the same against Costa Rica, I think we can all, know what to expect when it comes to which two groups will walk away from what many consider to be this group of death. Either way, those first matches take place on the 23rd. I'm so pumped, bro. Group E is going to be an absolute banger.
Hell yeah.
Now, Group F. We talked about this a little bit already, so there's going to be a lot, I think, conversation here. We've got Belgium with FIFA ranking of 2, easily one of the best teams on the planet. Canada at 41, Morocco at 22, and Croatia, the previous World Cup finalist, at number 12. So, and I think we can all kind of, clearly, I think most of the discussion today is probably going to be around what many are considering to be the last chance for a golden generation of football talent coming from Belgium to go out there and not just make it to the semifinals and then win third place at a World Cup, but can Roberto Martinez take this team to where many believe they deserve to be, the final, the World Cup final, go out there and win it so that, big name players like Eden Hazard, Kevin De Bruyne can all walk away with the biggest trophy this game can offer. So when we think about this generation of talents coming in ranked number 2 in the world, and they've been number 2, keep in mind, for years. I think it's been like since the last World Cup. I don't think they've ever broken number 1. I think Brazil's always kind of had that, but they have always been top 2, top 3. What's the proper, before we jump into where we think they're going to finish in this group, let's just quickly answer, what's the proper finish for them? Is this team good enough to be in the World Cup final? Should they be there, Andre?
100%. This is it. I mean, how many times have we said this is the golden generation? This tournament, they're going to do it. I think this is the tournament. I mean, look at all those players that are on that team 4 years from now at the U.S. World Cup. I don't know if they're going to be there, right? There's a lot of young talent in Belgium. That's the other thing too. But I think this has to be the year. And it's going to be a lot of pressure for Roberto Martinez because I think this is going to be a make or break year for him. If they don't at least get to the final, I think he's gone. Because with that much talent, you have to make a team win something, right? So I do have them actually in my World Cup final. It's going to be interesting because they're going to get tested. I mean, that group, it may sound like it's not tough, but Canada could do what Costa Rica did 8 years ago. Like they have enough of a, I don't know what the right word is, but with Alphonso Davies playing left wing as opposed to left back, he just creates so much for that team.
And there was that scare, by the way, right? There was that scare this past weekend. Where he might not be playing, but ESPN confirmed yesterday, I think that he should be good to go. He'll miss the final 2 games for Bayern, and then he'll be able to walk into that World Cup.
Jonathan David. I mean, think about how many goals he scored already in the Ligue 1. And then Kyle Larin. Which is, he's pretty solid. Eustachio, by the way, he's an unknown player, but Eustachio, which funny enough used to play for Cruz Azul in Mexico. That guy's been all over the world, but he is a centerpiece for Porto this year. So they can shock the world. I do have Canada, actually advancing in this group. So
yeah, it's interesting, man. And you bring up Canada. I think one important thing to note with Canada, for those who didn't watch CONCACAF and like qualifying and how it all worked out, their style of play is actually pretty pragmatic. They retain the ball decently well, but because they have guys like Alphonso Davies, who carries a lot of speed, Jonathan David, who carries a lot of speed, a lot of finishing power, they actually play counterattacking ball really well, which means that in this group, I think teams like Belgium are susceptible to that. I think that there's an opportunity to like any team does try to do with City in the Premier League, to beat them on the counter and create opportunities 100%. That way. And I can almost see Croatia maybe kind of doing the same thing, right? Playing on the break because so much of their talent is older, and they do want to retain the ball as much as they can. But I think it's going to be the way to beat these guys. When it comes to Belgium, who were their most notable defenders? I mean, a lot of them are aging. I know that they have the Ballon d'Or nominee in Courtois between the posts, and that should give them a massive leg up when it comes to keeping goals out of the net. But as many attackers as they have, is there anyone that we feel can stop the pace and the counter-attacking power of some of these teams?
I don't know, dude. I mean, they're
so old. They're so old in the back.
And Roberto Martinez loves the Vertonghen, and who's the other guy? Why am I forgetting him?
Alderweireld.
Alderweireld. So he loves Vertonghen and Alderweireld as the center backs. I'm like, dude,
they played together for like 12 years. I mean, it kind of makes
fine,
sense.
But at the same time, they're aging. Like, you have to go with the younger people. So I don't know. It's a really good question. I don't know if they have enough in the back line to contain a counterattacking team. I just don't see it.
Now, with that said, though, I think the best way to counter defensive woes is to be scoring as many goals as possible. With that said, though, I mean, I'm going to ask the same question that I asked of Spain in our last group. Lukaku is supposed to be the starting striker for this team. I mean, coming off of injury, coming off of, call it a dip in form, whatever you want it to be. Is Lukaku going to be the guy that Martinez and the rest of the Belgian team can really rely upon in the actual tournament? I mean, Alina, you've watched Lukaku more than probably most people that here. So, do you think that he's someone they should rely upon? Should they include strikers like Ketelari in the lineup just in case as a change of pace? Like, I don't know. Do you feel solid about the strikers on Belgium?
I think Belgium have probably one of the best striking forces in the World Cup with Lukaku and Ketelari. The only issue is how fit Lukaku is going to be, and I don't think he's going to be that fit. I think he's going to struggle because he started this season while he was getting some goals. He was doing well with Lautaro, and then he got that injury. And then it's kept him out for so long that I don't know if he's going to be fit. Like, he might be injury free, but I don't see him being able to give 100%. I see him actually maybe like for the first couple games anyways. I don't even know if he's going to be taken to the World Cup, by the way, because I don't know if he's shaken off that injury or he's not good to go. So I do think that Ketelari is going to start the first couple games, and then Lukaku is going to be like slowly incorporated depending on if he gets called up, and then depending on how fit he is.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Now, with that said, the questions at striker obviously get kind of rebutted by anybody who's a Belgian fan with how many players they have on their team who are in form, right? The likes of Kevin De Bruyne, the likes of Leandro Trossard, who's probably one of the most in-form Premier League players at the moment. They have a lot of firepower in that midfield. And I think Eden Hazard, despite the lack of minutes he gets at Madrid, will still find a way to get great touches and service with the quality that's in this Belgium side. prediction time. Do we really think that the talent is so clear and evident with this Belgium team that they should just outright finish top of the group, Andre?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, like I said, it's not going to be an easy group, but I do think that have enough firepower from the midfield up to get a result and to figure out a way. If you give up 2 goals, you'll score 3. It takes me back always to the Japan matchup in the last World Cup where they were down and then they tied 2-2. And then the last play of the game, I felt bad for Japan, but that counterattack, that was just so fucking clinical. And they won 3-2. So they'll find a way. They'll figure out a way to win the group. And I'm going to stand my ground here. I think Canada go through. I don't think Croatia has enough. Yeah, I don't think Croatia has enough anymore. I mean, they're 4 years ago, fantastic run, but they don't have really a solid scoring threat. I mean, without Mario Mandzukic, which, by the way, he's one of the coaches or assistant coaches for the national team, so he will be at the World Cup. He's just not going to be playing. I think Croatia goes as far as Rakitic and Modric can take him. And obviously they're older. If they don't stay fit, or if for whatever reason they pick up an injury during the group stage, I just don't see how they have enough to make an argument for them to go through it.
Yeah. So you don't think so the guy they're taking now is Kramaric, right, from Hoffenheim, and he's like not the most clinical striker in the world, but he's solid. I actually do like what I've seen from him, and I still think that they have a strong supporting cast around Luka, meaning Kovacic, Perisic, all these guys. I'm saying their names, and Kovacic isn't the oldest, right? Like he's at a good age,
but he's been around for a while.
But Brozovic, Perisic, all those guys have been around, and I think that we're going to see in this game between Belgium and Croatia, we're going to see the semifinal that I think everybody wanted to see in the 2018 World Cup. Yeah, because I think everybody wanted to see a France and Belgium final. Yeah. I just don't know if I could just put Canada in front of Croatia. Like I just think there's too many proven talents and players on this Croatia team. And with where they finished in the last World Cup, for them not to even get out of groups this time around, dude, it'd be a massive failure, in my opinion. And people can say, oh, it wouldn't be massive because how much talent does Croatia really have to tap into? It doesn't matter. There's so much experience on that team from a European perspective when it comes to even just to club football alone and how far some of these players are able to advance in those competitions. Yeah. This team, kind of like Germany, it should be just the first very achievable goal for them. Get out of groups, and then we see what the knockout rounds really look like for them.
I mean, they did beat France back in May or June of this year in Nations League. They do find a way to again get results. I don't know, man. I want to believe in Canada, bro. I don't know.
I mean, maybe that could be maybe we want to see someone in CONCACAF do something because we don't forget about US and Mexico. I don't know, right?
I don't know who else will. Yeah,
seriously. But I will say Croatia, one of the X factors, in my opinion, is not a player. It's a fact that so many teams are going into this tournament with injuries. They are not. They don't have any notable injuries. So this is going to be
really good point.
I don't know. They could have just something that a chemistry and aura around them that other teams, don't have because they have to deal with how to make the pieces of their puzzle work without key players. So I don't know. But prediction time. So you think it's going to be Canada and
Belgium.
Yep. Morocco, we're just saying, hey, it's great for you guys to show up.
I mean, it's short trip, right, from Morocco to Qatar.
Yeah, Shakimi, it's been real.
Enjoy the vacation, bro. Go to Dubai after the group stage. Let's go.
Yeah, bro. Seriously, they do have plenty of World Cup appearances. I think it's like 4 or 5 in their history, but very few of them have led to anything meaningful. So again, we don't want to shit on Morocco for the purpose of this video, but we definitely want to make sure that we're making predictions here. So that's where you think it's standing, Alina. Any major predictions here?
No, I think this is the most
straightforward
predictable group for me. I don't think Canada has what it takes, and for as much as I'd like to see them get out of the group, that would be historic and just so cool. But I do see Belgium coming in first and then Croatia coming in second.
Yeah. I'm right there with Alina, man. As great as it would be to see the likes of Kyle Larin and Alphonso Davies upset, a team as fabled as Croatia. I just think that there's too much experience and talent on that roster, even with the age. And I will say, even at his age, Luka is fucking balling. The guy just, he may not get the minutes he used to because he's 37 years old, but I still see him produce the same type of quality, vision, passing, everything that he's done for the last decade is still on full display. So, and I will say he almost has the perfect supporting cast when it comes to talent. The good news with this team is that guys like Perisic aren't on the bench; they're starting for some of the best teams like Tottenham. Brozovic, same thing. Kramaric, same thing. So, I think that there's just too much there. And while it might be a close game against Canada, I see them winning. So
I'm very selfish too when it comes to Croatia because I want him to X out of the group stage and then Modric can rest until the end of the World Cup.
That's what you're hoping for.
Yeah.
That's what you're hoping for.
Not gonna lie to y'all.
And look, the young talent that we haven't even talked about, there's so much experience on that Croatia roster. I'll leave you guys with this. The defender that everybody needs to be watching out for is RB Leipzig's own Gvardiol. That guy can play center back, left back. I selfishly want him for either, I would say probably Barca, but I would take it even at Arsenal. As good as our center backs are playing,
he's
the
so
guy is
like versatile. Yeah,
he's a Ben White. He can do anything on the back line, and for me, that's it's such a revelation to see. So I don't know. I think that's going to be one of the defenders that sticks out across the entire tournament. But
what's his price tag on that guy? What's the transfer value?
Because I think Pep inquired about him for City before they went out and got Akanji, and I really do think that they're charging somewhere upwards of like something stupid, like 100 million or something. It's like,
oh my gosh,
dude, he's a 21-year-old center back who could play left back that's competing against European talents in the Champions League today. Like that it's like a Saliba. I know Arsenal, who's 21. Arsenal would charge an arm and a leg for Saliba. It just finding that kind of quality center back is so difficult, so hard. And they're early on in their contracts. I do think someone like Gvardiol realistically wouldn't move for more than like 70 to 80 million. I think he's too good. So
and if he does well in the World Cup too, his value is going to increase.
Yep, it'll skyrocket. The World Cup and the Euros always tend to be tournaments where players get discovered. I'm so excited to see what players we discover or uncover in this tournament, and which clubs. January is going to be popping. It's going to be so much movement for as far as club activity goes. Teams trying to reinforce. Yeah, should be fun to watch. But anyway, guys, that's it. That's our episode for today. We've concluded. We do have one more of these predictions episodes on the agenda before the World Cup gets here, guys. So again, if you haven't already done so, please like the video, comment below. Let us know if our predictions are great, stupid, anything in between. We'll take all of it. And subscribe to the channel. It's free. It's a great way to show support. So again, I want to say thank you to Andre, Alina. Guys, it's been great. We have one more predictions episode and one more weekend and a week. There's like a week and a half of really solid matches, club matches between now and then. We're going to talk about all of it next time on Box to Box. Until then, thank you guys. We'll see you next time.